The number on your oil bottle can be lying to you in 6 months, not because anyone faked it, but because the oil itself stops being what the label says it is. A 0W40 can mechanically shear down and start behaving like a 30 weight still sitting in your engine, with nothing on your dashboard ever telling you it happened. This is called viscosity breakdown, and there isn't just one way it happens. In this video, real lab data and one documented engine failure show you exactly how, and the one question you should be asking before your next oil change that almost nobody asks. Reality 1, the wedge that's supposed to protect your engine. Picture the inside of your engine at full RPM. Metal parts spinning, sliding, and rotating just thousandths of an inch apart from each other. Close enough that without something between them, they would grind themselves apart in seconds. That something is a microscopically thin layer of pressurized oil called the hydrodynamic wedge, and it exists because of one single property, viscosity. Viscosity is, without exaggeration, the single most important characteristic of any lubricant. It's not the additives, not the brand, not the color of the bottle. It's whether the oil maintains the correct thickness to keep that wedge intact under load, heat, and speed. When viscosity holds steady, the wedge holds, and the bearing surface and the crankshaft journal never actually touch each other even as they spin past one another thousands of times per minute. This isn't a rare event. Oil analysts who review thousands of used oil samples report the same finding over and over. The single most common reason for elevated engine wear isn't a bad batch of oil or a mechanical defect. It's low viscosity, oil that has simply become thinner than it was designed to be, sitting in an engine that's still running, unaware its protection has degraded. There isn't just one way this happens either. Mechanical stress, fuel contamination, water, and heat can each push viscosity in the wrong direction on their own. A driver can do everything right. Correct oil, correct interval, correct filter, and still end up with an engine running on a fraction of the protection the label promised. 9 separate realities explain how that happens, and every single one of them is hiding in plain sight once you know what to look for. Next, the exact detail hiding on your oil cap that tells you whether your engine is at risk. Reality 2. Why a 0W40 or 5W50 is secretly fragile. Here's the detail almost no driver knows to ask about, and it's hiding in plain sight on the oil cap itself. Look at any bottle labeled 0W40, 5W50, or 10W60. Anything with a wide gap between the number before the W and the number after it. That wide spread means the oil needs an unusually large amount of viscosity index improvers, long-chain polymer molecules stretched into the oil specifically to make it behave like a thin oil when cold and a thick oil when hot. The problem is what those polymers are made of. Long molecular chains, mechanically fragile in exactly the way short, simple molecules are not. Every time oil gets pumped through a tight clearance or dragged across a timing chain under tension, those chains can physically shear apart, snapping into shorter pieces that no longer provide the same thickening effect. Think of it less like the oil wearing out and more like spaghetti repeatedly run through a meat grinder. The mass never changes, but the structure that gave it length is gone for good. The oil doesn't burn off. It doesn't leak out. It's still sitting in your engine in the same quantity. It has just permanently lost the molecular structure that made it a 40 weight or 50 weight oil in the first place. Industry analysts have documented mobile 10W40 shearing out of its rated grade in engines with under 1,000 miles on the oil. The bottle still says 40. The oil inside mechanically no longer behaves like one. The dipstick won't tell you. A widespread multi-grade oil isn't automatically a bad choice. Many engines genuinely need that range, but it does mean the oil is leaning on a more fragile component to do its job. Knowing that single fact is the difference between buying blind and buying with your eyes open. Next, the 2 completely different lab tests that measure this breakdown. Reality 3. 2 ways to break the same wedge, and why one is worse. Lubrication labs have 2 completely different ways to test for this kind of breakdown. Think of stretching a rubber band. Pull it gently and let go. It returns to shape. Pull it hard enough. and it snaps permanently, never returning to its original length no matter how long you wait. The first test, called high temperature, high shear, is the gentle stretch. It measures how much an oil's viscosity temporarily thins under heat and pressure at conditions close to actual engine operating temperature, around 150 degrees Celsius. It doesn't necessarily tell you whether that thinning is permanent or whether the oil would recover once the stress is removed. The second test, the KRL tapered roller bearing test, is the snap. It takes a small sample of oil, places it under a tapered bearing at a fixed load and temperature, and runs it for a set duration specifically to mechanically shear the oil's polymer chains apart, permanently, the same way a real timing chain does over thousands of real miles. There is no recovery from a KRL result. What makes this useful is that the lab results from a 15-minute KRL test match almost exactly what shows up in real, field-collected, used oil samples from actual customer engines running that same oil. A short bench test predicting a long-term, real-world outcome that closely is a genuinely reliable early warning system, if you know to look for it before you buy. That's the kind of correlation most lab tests in this industry can only claim, not actually demonstrate. It also means a 15-minute test on a small sample of oil can tell a buyer, before they ever pour a drop into their engine, roughly how that oil is going to age over the next several thousand miles. Next, why not every thickener fails the same way? Reality 4, not all thickeners break the same way. Here's where the story gets genuinely useful, because not every viscosity index improver fails identically, and the differences explain a real-world trade-off every oil formulator has to navigate, whether they advertise it or not. Polyisobutylene, or PIB, is remarkably resistant to mechanical shearing. In lab testing, it held up roughly twice as well as competing polymers under the same KRL stress test. That sounds like an obvious win, except PIB has a serious weakness at the opposite end of the spectrum: cold temperature flow. Oil blended with PIB can register cold crank viscosity readings more than double what star polymer blends show at the same temperature, sometimes failing the cold weather requirement for its labeled grade entirely. The most common viscosity improver on the shelf, OCP or olefin copolymer, sits at the opposite end. It performs reasonably at cold temperatures, which is why it's the default choice for roughly 80% of oils on a typical shelf, but it shears more readily under stress, losing around 5% of its high-temperature shear viscosity, regardless of base oil. Star-shaped polymers tend to land in the middle, meaningfully more shear-resistant than OCP, while still performing acceptably in cold weather, particularly when blended into a PAO base oil. There is no universally perfect thickener, and the bottle on the shelf almost never tells you which trade-off you're buying. The only way to actually know which compromise you've purchased is to look up the specific formulation, not just the viscosity grade printed on the front. Next, a second, completely different way oil thins out that has nothing to do with mechanical shearing at all. Reality 5, the other way. Oil thins, fuel dilution. Mechanical shearing is not the only way viscosity drops, and this second pathway has nothing to do with timing chains or bearing tolerances at all. It happens purely from chemistry every time your engine starts cold, regardless of how well built the engine is or how expensive the oil was. When an engine runs cold, especially during short trips, some unburned gasoline slips past the piston rings and drains down into the crankcase, mixing directly into the oil. This is called fuel dilution, and it's especially common in modern direct injection engines, where fuel spray can wet the cylinder walls before it fully combusts. Certified lubrication specialist Lake Speed Jr. puts a specific number on how serious this is. As little as 5% fuel dilution can drop an oil from an SAE 30 down to an SAE 20, a full viscosity grade lower, using nothing but gasoline thinning the oil itself, with zero mechanical shearing involved. The two problems can stack on top of each other. An engine running widespread oil prone to shearing, combined with frequent short trips that dilute that same oil with fuel, is losing viscosity from two completely independent directions at once. Either one alone reduces protection. Together, the loss compounds, and the oil can end up significantly out of grade well before its scheduled change interval ever arrives. A used oil analysis is the only way to know for certain which of these two pathways, or both, is actually happening inside your specific engine. Anyone whose daily driving consists mostly of short hops around town rather than longer highway stretches is statistically more exposed to this specific failure mode than they realize. Next, the failure mode that does the exact opposite and is just as dangerous. Reality 6. When oil gets thicker instead of thinner. Here's the twist most drivers never hear. Viscosity breakdown doesn't only mean oil getting thinner. Given enough heat and time, oil can break down in the completely opposite direction, getting thicker, not thinner. And that failure mode is just as capable of destroying an engine. This happens through oxidation, a chemical reaction where oil molecules combine with oxygen under sustained heat. As that reaction progresses, hydrocarbon molecules link together into larger, heavier compounds, and the oil's viscosity climbs instead of falling. The oil becomes syrup-like, struggling to flow through the tight tolerances of a modern engine, and eventually that thickened oil bakes directly onto hot surfaces, forming varnish and sludge. Sludge is a sticky, tar-like substance that clogs oil passages outright, and when oil can't physically reach the camshaft or crankshaft bearings because the passage feeding them is blocked, the result is metal-on-metal contact just as severe as anything caused by oil that's too thin. Extended oil change intervals are the single biggest accelerant of this process, because antioxidant additives are consumed gradually over time and eventually run out, leaving nothing left to slow the reaction. The takeaway is the same regardless of direction. Whether your oil thins from shearing and fuel dilution or thickens from oxidation, the result is identical. A lubricant that's no longer the viscosity grade your engine was built around. A bottle of oil that looked perfectly fine on the shelf can fail in either direction once it's actually doing its job inside a hot, moving engine. Dark, syrup-thick oil on the dipstick at a normal change interval is one of the simplest visual warning signs of this exact process already underway. Next, a third pathway that has nothing to do with chemistry or polymers at all, something far more ordinary, hiding inside nearly every cold weather commute. Reality 7. The third pathway, water hiding in plain sight. There's a third way viscosity gets thrown off entirely, and it has nothing to do with chemistry breaking down or polymers shearing apart. It's something far more ordinary. Water, condensing inside your engine from a source most drivers never think about. Every gallon of gasoline burned produces roughly a gallon of water as a byproduct of combustion. On a fully warmed-up highway drive, that water vaporizes and exits harmlessly through the exhaust and the PCV system. But on short trips, especially in cold weather, where the engine never gets hot enough for long enough, that water vapor condenses on the cool metal inside the crankcase instead of escaping, dripping straight down into the oil sitting in the pan below. Once enough water accumulates, it doesn't just dilute the oil, it can form an emulsion, a milky, frothy mixture that behaves nothing like the oil it started as. Documented engineering data shows that as water concentration in that emulsion rises, particularly at cold temperatures, the viscosity actually increases rather than decreases. In some cases, climbing high enough to exceed the maximum pressure an oil pump can physically push fluid through. At that point, the pump isn't struggling to circulate thin oil anymore. It's struggling to circulate something closer to a frozen milkshake, and the parts waiting on the other end of that pump get nothing at all. A weekly highway drive long enough to fully heat cycle the oil is often enough to boil that moisture back off before it accumulates to a dangerous level. A car that only ever does short trips around town never gets that chance. Anyone who's pulled a milky, frothy dipstick on a winter morning has seen this exact emulsion forming in real time, even if they assumed it was simply a sign of dirty oil rather than trapped water. Next, the real engine, the real mileage, and the real bill where all of these pathways converge. Reality 8. The real chain reaction, from sheared oil to a $20,000 bill. This is where viscosity breakdown stops being a lab number and becomes a real, documented mechanical failure chain. Step 1. The oil shears. A widespread oil like 0W40 loses film thickness faster than expected in an engine built around multiple internal timing chains that mechanically chew through viscosity improvers. exactly the kind of engine found in certain Porsche Flat Six platforms. Step 2. Thinner oil means a weaker hydrodynamic film at the timing chain tensioners, components that depend on consistent oil pressure to stay properly tensioned. Those tensioners begin wearing prematurely, documented as early as 35,000 miles on engines running factory-spec oil on factory intervals. Step 3 is where many owners make the wrong move. The worn tensioner causes a rattling noise on cold start. Some owners switch to a thicker oil to quiet it down. Porsche specialists are direct. That's not the proper fix. The rattle isn't a viscosity symptom to mask. It's a worn tensioner that needs physical replacement, and thicker oil only buys time while the real wear continues underneath. Step 4 is the expensive one. Continued chain slack and vibration can cause false Brinelling on the intermediate shaft bearing, a known catastrophic failure point in this engine family. When that bearing goes, debris contaminates the oil and the timing chains can jump or break, typically requiring a full rebuild. Replacing worn tensioners early, $1,500 to $3,000. A full rebuild after IMS failure, $15,000 to $25,000. Every single step in this chain started with one quiet, invisible molecular event that nobody in the chain ever saw happen. None of the warning signs along the way were dramatic on their own. A slightly thinner oil, a faint rattle, a sound most owners learned to tune out within a week of first hearing it. Next, the one question that could have stopped this entire chain before it started. Reality 9. What to actually ask before your next oil change. Put this entire chain together, and the practical takeaway isn't buy a specific brand. It's a habit of asking one specific question that almost nobody asks, and that almost no parts counter or quick lube shop is set up to answer off the shelf. If your owner's manual calls for a widespread oil, 0W40, 5W50, 10W60, and especially if your engine has multiple internal timing chains, ask specifically about shear stability, not just whether the oil meets the labeled viscosity grade out of the bottle. Far fewer oils hold their grade after real mechanical stress than pass the bottle test. And that's the number that actually predicts what's happening inside your engine months from now. Independent oil analysis labs and several boutique formulators publish KRL and HTHS shear data specifically, because mainstream retail brands often don't. If your driving is mostly short trips in cold weather, ask about fuel dilution risk for your specific engine, and consider shorter oil change intervals to compensate for the chemical thinning those trips cause. And if your engine has already started making a cold start rattle, don't reach for a thicker oil as the fix, no matter how many forum posts suggest it as a quick, quiet down trick. That symptom calls for a mechanical inspection of the timing chain tensioners. Catching that early is the difference between a $1,500 repair and a bearing failure that costs an order of magnitude more. And if your only drives are short hops around town, plan one longer highway trip every week or two, simply to give the oil enough sustained heat to boil off any water that's quietly accumulated. The oil in the bottle and the oil working in your engine 6 months later aren't always the same fluid. It can shear thinner, dilute thinner, oxidize thicker, or thicken from trapped water. 4 paths to the same outcome. If your car calls for a widespread synthetic, ask about shear stability before your next fill. And if you've ever heard a cold start rattle and reached for thicker oil to quiet it down, that's exactly where this chain reaction usually begins.